Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia, and I'm thinking my camera's a little off now that I'm seeing it. Um, I had some wood I was playing with earlier to raise the height. Anyway, it doesn't matter, I guess. I wanna say welcome tonight. I have a really cool guest. I've recently been introduced to his work, and everything I've seen of it, I've I'm like an instant fan. So let's just bring him on. His name is he's a talented artist. His name is Matt Battaglia. Hello,
Hello. Hi.
hello. How you
Thanks for
doing?
having me.
Oh,
Good.
anytime, man.
Thanks.
Like I said, the second I started seeing your work, I became an instant fan.
I
So
appreciate that.
it's great stuff. I look forward to seeing more of the stuff you're going to be producing. Um,
Thanks.
Now, before we get into like your comic and some of the stuff you've done, can you give us a
hmm
little bit of background on you? What got you into comics? What was some of your inspirations? What kind of books did you enjoy reading? Stuff like that.
Yeah. I grew up in Jersey, actually, right near the where the Kubert School is,
Okay.
and so I was always reading comics. I think my first comics were Transformers comics because
Hmm.
the tie-in with the toys and stuff as a kid. Also,
Hmm.
RoboCop comics somewhere were in there because
Yeah.
at that time, like
The
you
RoboCop
had
was
kids
awesome.
RoboCop toys and you had RoboCop comics. It was great.
Yeah, he had the
Uh,
cartoon RoboCop too.
yeah. So, so I was always reading, always drawing, and I had the fortunate experience of being able to go to the Kubert School like Saturday morning sketch classes with
Mhm.
Fernando Ruiz, who was
Yeah.
and Ben Dale, who I wish he still made stuff,
Mhm.
um, but anyway, so I had a great like upbringing in sort of comics in that way.
Yeah.
And then yeah, always was reading them. Frank Miller, like a lot of obvious stuff back in the day. Big John
Mhm.
Romita Jr. fan, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, so always been drawing and reading comics forever.
And just out of curiosity, what were some of your favorite comics that you like really you could say stuck with you?
Uh,
You don't have to
Gosh,
give
it
issues,
depends.
but
It depends on the time period. I mean, like
mhm,
when I was growing up, I obviously I read a lot of the Transformers comics, the Transformers Generation 2 comic that like Simon Furman did, and
mhm,
Derek Yangier was the first artist on that, whose art was
okay,
amazing. Like it was a perfect like 90s pumped up
mhm,
Transformers thing. And that run was really cool, and also I mean, it also had an ending. It
yeah,
ended sooner, but I remember reading that letters column where he's writing like the sign off letter, and that issue always stuck with me. That final issue.
yeah,
Um, then other than that, I mean, like later on, I found Ennis's Punisher run, like Marvel Knights was going on, and so that
mhm,
was a gateway into those comics. And then a neighbor growing up was older had read Dark Knight Returns, and he had found out that I liked comics, and he recommended Dark Knight Returns to me, and then that brought me down the Frank Miller rabbit hole and the Kubert School. Like Ben had brought in like the Walking Dead comics back when
mhm,
they had just started, so like you know, so like, and then that pushed me into Image Comics territory, and I read all the sort of Kirkman stuff at that time. So
mhm,
always kind of jumping around, but I always gravitated mostly towards artists, even though I know I just named a bunch of writers, but the like as far as like random stuff that I would pick up, it was always art based.
yeah,
Anything that John Romita Jr. does, I will read mostly, even though I know he's kind of fallen off lately. He's a little old
mhm,
or whatever, but
interesting. Yeah,
I followed his stuff all the time. And now, I mean, Paul Pope is a big influence on me.
yeah,
Um, I've been kind of delving more into like European books. I'm a
oh,
big Hugo Pratt fan now, and
mhm,
the and now I just kind of hunt more back issues. I don't know that there's not a ton of like other than like James Herron's work. I love like Ultra Mega was a great pickup recently, but
mhm.
yeah, I like diving back issues and kind of finding all sorts of whatever weird stuff I can find.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I look at a lot of those type of stuff too. I just want to first say hi to Sebastian Bonet watching. saying he's dropping by to say hi. So hi, Sebastian. Thanks for tuning in. Um, yeah, no, I mean, you named some great stuff. Although I'm hearing you talk, and obviously there's a bit of an age difference between us because you're mentioning Vermita Jr. and I'm a big Senior fan. Like
Uh-huh.
the way I want to see Spider-Man is the way Senior drew it. You know what I mean? Like
Uh,
that's
See, I want to
so.
see that Straczynski Ramita Jr. run. I love that run,
Yeah,
and so like I mean, just because the way that Junior drew Spider-Man at that time, like that blockiness was
yeah.
huge fan. I don't draw at all like him, like, and I can't draw like him really, but I I'm a huge. I just something about his art always did it for me.
Yeah, no, he's good too. I mean, I read his Spider-Man in the '90s.
Yep.
I don't remember the last story I read that he did. I stopped kind of collecting mainstream around 2000, shortly
Okay.
2001 too. So I don't remember the last thing I read by him. But yeah, no,
So we're a decade off, basically.
yeah, about.
Because that's when I had started going to the shops,
Yeah,
on my own type of thing.
yeah. I started collecting in 1989, officially collecting comic books. I was 13, but I would get comics and read comics from friends and families and stuff. So
Hmm.
I just always had the older stuff. I'm much more of a golden and silver age fan of
Yeah.
comic art. Um,
I
yeah,
had
go
a
ahead.
couple of those reprints, like
Mhm.
a couple Ditko Spider-Mans and like
Yeah.
one Kirby X-Men reprint that,
Hmm.
and I always, those are well-worn books, but I also, in the Kirby Ditko thing, I go way more into Ditko than Kirby. And even like the modern Ditko I started getting, like, or the,
Yeah.
not modern, but the late Ditko, like the Ditko creator stuff,
Yeah.
own stuff. I really like what he does with the form. I
Yeah.
think he's an interesting cartoonist.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I have a couple of well, I have both Ditko and Kirby stuff laying around here somewhere, but I actually have some digital copies of Ditko's work, like books of his,
Hmm.
um, that I got off. I don't know where it was, like Amazon or something. They connect
Yeah,
with what comic book. What's that? What's the thing they do? The comicology they're connected with.
Comixology.
So I
Yes.
downloaded a few of those, and I got like some really nice Kirby work, and it's nice because
Yeah.
I have it on my phone, and I can not Kirby. I'm sorry, Ditko work, and I can just look on my phone and read them and study them.
I used to work at Comixology for a time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
Uh-huh.
um, and we won't go in. We won't talk about that if you're not into it. I don't
I don't
listen.
care.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Comixology is a pretty cool company from what I can tell. I had a friend that almost worked
Yeah.
there. Um, but
I'll say that the guys that I worked with, most of them were at my wedding. So.
oh, that's cool. That's cool. I will say that they never returned my applicate, like never answered my application.
Oh. Well,
So, it's okay. Uh, it happens.
yeah.
So anyway, when did you start kind of creating your own comics?
I mean, I've always been drawing them. As far as like trying to do stuff for myself, that was more
Mhm.
recent. As far as um, mm, like Ghost of the Carousel was really me just being like, I had things that I wanted to express, and I finally
Mhm.
just started using drawing comics as like a way to do that.
Mhm.
And so for a while, like I did a book indoctrination with Mike Morisi a while back, which I wasn't ready to do when I did it, when I drew it. Like I just
Mhm.
didn't. It was a monthly book, and I just was not prepared for doing a monthly comic at the time. But I think that actually discovering a lot of the older Paul Pope stuff, and even some of the like newer Ditko stuff, gave me, I don't wouldn't confidence isn't the right word, but it gave me I like more of a push to be like, oh, like I can do more with a comic than trying to do something that's going to fit into like a either an ongoing, or like, oh, this needs to be a 5-issue series or something like that.
Yeah.
Like just seeing the way that they mess with the formal elements of comics kind of freed up my brain to be like, I don't need to make a pitch. Like I can just make a comic. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And it took an embarrassingly long time, I guess, for me to get to that point in my brain. But I think freeing your mind from being like, oh, I need to make something to pitch to somebody, to just being like, I'm just gonna make something because I want to make something, was was good.
Yeah. So let's say hi to Christian
Hi, Christian. What's going on?
in the audience, who was on last week with
Faison.
James Fugitive Poems, saying hi to Matt, his Italian brother. Nothing to me, I understand, Christian. Uh,
The
so
horns.
yeah. So yeah, no, that's cool, because I got to say, I've been part of pitches. I've written
Hmm.
stuff for pitches, and then I've kind of come to the conclusion. I don't even know how many years ago it was. I'm just like, I don't need to pitch to people anymore. Let me just, let me just start doing my own stuff and put it out
Yeah.
there. Okay, thank you, Christian. It's implied. So, let's talk. Oh, now he's doing, and he
Now
used
he's just
Michael.
gonna keep
Now
going
he's
in
going to
there.
be, yeah. But you know what? It's okay. I prefer Michael to Mike anyway, so
Uh-huh.
it's much better. Uh, but yeah, no. So you were making. It took you, however long it did to get you to start creating. What was the first? Was Ghost of the Carousel your first actual project, or did you do something before it? Or
I've done a lot of other I Ghost is the first thing that I've like finished.
okay,
And even I don't know that I would call it finished. Like it's more that it's done. I mean, like there's stuff that I could change. There's stuff that I could change, or
hmm,
maybe if I did a second printing, I want to add a few pages at the end to kind of pace it out better.
okay,
But like I've done a bunch of like it, either first issues or like 10 pages of ideas
hmm,
that like I did a whole, I don't know, 40 something page comic that's on my website, called Crimson, which is like an action comic. And eventually like I'll come up with doing the rest of it. But like I do a lot of stops and starts, and so like Ghost was really the one where I finally was like, okay, I'll get this over the finish line. Like this is going to be a complete thing, and it's done.
yeah,
Whereas a bunch of other things I've done for myself, like I don't know, like I'll pick them up. Like there's one that I've done a few pages of, and like a couple of the pages are on my website, and like that one's going to be the next thing that I'm going to finish.
okay,
It's probably like a 30-page something book, and
hmm,
it's more um it's maybe a little bit more actiony and less cerebral than Ghost, but
hmm,
probably still going to be a little. It's not going to be very wordy.
okay. Well, this one wasn't very wordy either,
No.
and I said this at the beginning of the show. I said this to you behind, in the green room. I really loved the story. I love the art that goes along with it, but it really was the story that, that was that makes it great. I mean, you really, I think you pace the story well. Your imagery works well with the story. Um, I'm just going to look at something really quick. I'm not going to share it
Mhm.
because I don't want to share the whole comic right now with the audience. But
If you do get it, it's printed like I did it A5 sized, so
okay,
it's in print, so it's bigger, and
yeah.
um that's
Oh, gorgeous.
but I think it came out really nicely in print. Um, so
Now, before I
recommend
show,
grabbing a copy.
yeah, well, when I get a chance, I definitely will. Hopefully, I'll see you at a con or something and can
If
pick
you
it up.
come down to,
Uh,
I'm doing the Ocean City Con in Delaware in December, so
that all depends on the weather, but I would love to
yeah.
head down there. Um, what was the inspiration for Ghosts of the Carousel?
um, so I mean, a lot of it there's a lot of personal elements in it. I mean, I guess minor like I don't know that spoilers doesn't really matter because it's not. I don't think it's not like a plot book, but it is
Mhm.
sort of loosely, but also specific. My wife is sitting over here and off camera, but it is sort of based around meeting her a little bit. Like the ending specifically.
Okay. Yes, yes, okay.
um, so a lot of it's about getting over sort of um, finding a way to get over your past and things that haunt you in it, and trying to move on. And so there are the book is is sort of very loosely um, based around personal stuff
Mm.
experiences, but
Yeah.
I kind of my hope with it is that it feels universal enough that people, when they read it, can kind of plug in their own emotions to it, and not be sort of beholden entirely to like me. Like I don't it's semi there's some sort of autobiographical parts of it, but I hope that it's sort of um dreamlike enough that it doesn't read as such.
Well, I gotta say, I did connect with it in certain ways, dealing with past themes, mostly past relationships,
Yep.
and I actually, and I'll never draw it, but I was engaged before I met my wife,
Hmm.
and I wrote a whole comic about the breakup, about everything, and it ends with basically me meeting my wife.
Hmm.
Um, and I wrote it. I'm not gonna lie; it was very emotional to do.
Yeah.
There was a lot. I'm not. There were tears writing sometimes because I like exercised all my demons writing this, and I'm at the point where I never need to draw it again. I don't feel I have to, but I connected with certain aspects of your story through that. And
Yeah.
we got. I just want to just quickly go in
Yeah.
and got James Lyons is also in here, and so fugitive homes in the house, definitely. We got Christian watching as well, so definitely got two guys there. Um, do you mind if we'll get back to Ghost in a moment, but since we
Yeah.
got fugitive poems in here, let's talk
Hmm.
about what you did with them. And what I'm going to do for you guys who did not watch last week, you missed a really great show. Number one, a fugitive poems were on here, both Christian and James. Number two, it was the first day of their Kickstarter for their book Containment Breach, which I am putting a link into the comments so you guys can after the show go donate, which they've already
They're
exceeded
funded.
their goal. They're funded,
It's funded.
but they still have 52 days left in there. I will say I am a backer, and I'm thrilled that I backed it. Everything looked great. But you guys and Christian here, people didn't watch the show last week. I know it's strange, but some people haven't. And if you haven't, please go back and watch that as well after this one though. Stay tuned and stay in for this one. Um, talk to us how. Oh, got a little friend joining
Chat.
us. No worries. I keep my door closed for that reason. But can you talk about how you got involved with fugitive poems and kind of the work you did that's in the Containment Breach book?
Yeah, I think that Christian just hit me up on Twitter. Think I don't remember. I don't know. I think that's probably how I got involved in that project.
Mhm.
And and yeah, and yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to do more anthology type work. I did an
Mhm.
anthology called Yule,
Mhm.
which was also on Kickstarter, and I did a short for that.
Mhm.
Um, so it was fun. I mean, I like doing I like doing shorter things because
Mhm.
it's something that I can generally finish without
Yeah.
losing my mind too much. Granted, at this point, like if I were to go back, I'd just redraw all the pages at this point because anytime I look at anything that I did 5 minutes ago. I needed to redo it. So
That's exactly how I feel too about my work.
never quite satisfied.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun project, and I'm excited to see. I don't know that I've seen anyone else's shorts yet, or if I haven't really dug around the Google Drive to go, uh, steal a look at them. But
Mhm.
I'm excited. I think it's a cool idea. Like doing I liked how they set it up. Like it was fun. Everyone got different themes, and it was fun working with Nicholas who wrote it. Yeah, it was a cool experience. I would recommend any indie comics people like do the next one because
Yeah.
it's a nice way to get your work out there, to try something new, and it's you get a nice little short comic out of it, which is
Yeah.
always good.
Yeah. They do great work though.
Yeah,
The quality of the work that they're putting out, fantastic. And
yeah,
to
and they're
think
great
that
guys.
they're
I mean,
only
it's
that too. But I mean, before we get to how great they are, the quality of just on their second issue of something they're doing is just looks fabulous already. The stuff they
yeah,
showed on the show last week. But yeah, both James and Christian, fantastic guys, and they will be returning in November to talk about their Kickstarter again, closer to when it ends. So, yep, Nicholas there and Christian. I will stop now, and but let's get back to Ghost of the Carousel. You mind if I share it a little bit of it?
yeah.
Okay,
No, do it.
so we'll go to your website, which
Yeah,
I
and
didn't
these
put
are
the website name in there. Um,
yeah, it's mattjbat.com.
oh, Matchy. Okay. Oh, so it's
These
scrolling
are
across the bottom with your
It's
Twitter and
scrolling
Instagram.
across. Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
Share screen, and this is the one I want to share.
And what you were saying about the what you were writing before though is
Mhm.
it's a similar it was a similar sort of process, like, for me especially, where I think that art, and I did everything traditionally. Well, like I did layouts digitally, but I did all the inks
Mhm.
traditionally, and I feel like part of it part something that's important. So that's the pre-order page. But if you go to my website, I have more. The preview page is up easily.
Okay. This is the site. This is the site you sent me to.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah,
that's the order page for
or the
for the
order
book.
page. So
Yeah, and you could get commissions and stuff. But if you go
okay.
to mattjbat.com, which I think is your third tab. Oh, no,
No, I don't think I have that there. MattJ.com.
mattjbat.
Let's
Yep.
see what I.
And if you go over to Ghost of the Carousel up at the top,
Okay,
boom.
we
So
can see
then
more.
yeah, those are, which is actually like, these aren't actually pages in the book. I cut up different panels and wrote up a
Mhm.
different narration to sort of act as like a overview of what's in the book without
Yeah.
giving away actual pages. But yeah, I mean, like I feel like making art, and especially like doing it traditionally, like on a physical piece of paper, for
Mhm.
me, makes it a far more therapeutic kind of process.
Yeah.
Um, having that tactile like experience.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I, 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 I've really, valued being able to sort of draw and have that to go to, especially over the past few years.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, Ghost really came out of a lot of these things, but I tried to, and I promised my wife this. I tried to make sure that it had a happy ending, or had some sort of, hopeful tone in it. And I because I don't, I think that the main thing I'm trying to communicate with it is your past or your failures don't have to be like, you don't have to be trapped there. You can always kind of move past it. So
Yeah. Yeah. How long did it take you to put it all together, write and draw and everything?
I did it in a couple, like the first 12 pages I think I did in a couple years ago.
Mhm.
and I think that I probably did them over the course of like 2 weeks. Uh,
Okay.
then the following like 4 pages I did weird like I did those. I think I did those. I must have done them last year in like July, like over the summer or something. My dog died, obviously, if you could tell that in the
Yeah.
so, so
Yeah.
those pages were done immediately thereafter, and
Yeah.
then the rest of it I finished up over a couple like the last few months, I think. But generally speaking, like each page only took the layouts took me. I didn't pencil. I just did digital layouts,
Okay.
and a page probably generally took me like 2 to 3 hours tops to complete. So
Yeah.
I tried
That's
to do
understandable.
them very quick.
But you said you
Um,
did these all traditional, right?
yeah,
So would you do digital layouts, print them up, and then trace
yep,
over them? Okay.
yeah, and then ink over them. I mean, the
Ink 'em.
layouts are. I can show if I can
Hold on.
show you some layouts.
Yeah, I'll give you the screen.
Um, the layouts are pretty. They're pretty like filthy. Like this is
Oh,
like what a layout would look like.
yeah.
Um, and then I can show the final page for that one. Uh, like, and that's like the final page. So
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of the work is done in ink.
Yeah.
But I basically constructed like a grid for my like I just all the pages are based off of the same I think 9 panel grid or something like that, and then you know this is another layout. So I
I
just
love
built it off of that, and then I just would make up the dialogue as I went on. There wasn't
Yeah.
really not that there was much dialogue
Yeah. Yeah.
to speak of, but yeah, I mean, it was I did it really generally quickly. So
Yeah. I like looking at your roughs. I'm a fan of that type of stuff, and I'm a very messy artist as well, so I appreciate that. Uh,
yeah, and like for something else, I
mhm,
might go tighter, but for this, I mean, most of it, I thought most of the like, you know, so that's some more like
mm,
most of the feeling came out in the ink, and
yeah.
to go too tight, you're gonna, I think you lose some of
Yeah.
that emotion that you get from the like working quickly with a brush.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was Procreate.
Procreate. Yeah. I was
Yep.
able to tell I was gonna ask. Did you do the coloring, like the grays and stuff in
So
Procreate, or?
no, the first few pages in the cover, I did them. All those tones were done like traditionally.
Hmm,
I used deleter screen tones,
okay.
and then the last batch of pages, I cheated and I did them digitally in Photoshop.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, I just wanted to finish it, and I had the tones. Like I probably had enough tones that I could have done it, but
Yeah.
sitting with the X-Acto knife and it just I just didn't really want to do it.
It's it is time
It's so
consuming. It's
much
quicker.
faster.
So
It's
much
so much
faster in photo.
faster
Yeah.
doing it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
And I go back and I think that doing them physically they look
Mhm.
better, but I can't honestly tell you that there's truly a difference just in my head. Um,
Yeah, you can see it. I don't. I'm the same way. I'll look at stuff and
it
I'll be like that. You can tell it's digital, and there's something about it that just doesn't feel right all the time.
it's the size of the tone, I think, is what it is. Now I'm looking at it
Oh,
'cause it's the
like
size.
when you half
Yeah,
screen it and stuff.
just that's what it is. The dots are too big in some
Yeah,
spots.
I know we
So
can.
there you go. I mean,
So
that's the
let me just
for
ask you this: with
second printing.
Yeah, with the toning that you do in Photoshop,
Hmm.
are you using a brush that already has the tone in there, or are you actually going in and half toning it?
No. I used a brush.
Use it.
I'm maybe next time I do it, I'll make my own. Like I'll just scan in a sheet and do it that way. But
Mhm.
yeah, I just used a brush.
Okay.
Um, and I and I did most of that on the iPad. So
All
um,
right.
yeah.
I don't know who this is here. I'm just looking at the comment. Flora Nova Nava, you were my art teacher. I'm assuming that's to me, unless you were an art teacher at
Uh,
some point.
I don't think I was.
All right, then that was probably me, and I don't know who you are. If you want to give me more detail, I'd be happy to say hi, but still hi. Um, anyway, so yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the screen here. Let's exit that. So as I'm looking at this here,
Uh-huh.
um, number one, I've always had like one major question.
Yep.
Well, no, well, okay. Why the carousel? Number one.
Okay.
And number two, is this supposed to be like the Jersey Shore?
Yes.
Okay, because
So
I've walked the Jersey Shore so many times. I'm like, some of these places kind of like
uh,
look familiar.
so the backstory is my wife and I met at the Stone Pony
Mhm.
at Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes show,
Okay.
who feature they're in the comic, and so and the song that they're playing in the comic is the song that we danced to at our wedding. It was a song that we always yell out to request from Southside to play. Uh, so that's the backstory. So it is set at the Jersey Shore. It's set in
Okay.
Asbury Park, and there is a deserted carousel at Asbury Park. Uh,
Okay.
which so it's all set in that location, and so everything was kind of informed of that. And I mean, I
Mhm.
think that there's uh, so yeah, I mean, I think that the shore is also like a good reflective place too, like as far as settings go, and
Mhm.
and I think to me, I'm a grew up in New Jersey. I've seen Bruce 20 plus times, so I think I have my New Jersey cred card. But the there is something about like especially like the Asbury Park boardwalk at night, but just the shore at night is there's something about it that I think kind of speaks to you know there's I felt like thematically it fits with this sort of searching your past and looking for towards your future type of thing. There's something about
Mhm.
the ocean um, that I feel like sort of works with that, and it
Yeah.
gives you fun. Like I got to play with some sound effects with the to try to sort of evoke the idea of waves coming in and out and all that stuff. So there's a lot of also fun art things that I think I got to play with.
That's cool. Yeah, you got a lot of really nice panels, scenes. I love the layout as I look at this here. Um, I love the way you rendered the water.
Yeah, thanks. And a
Yeah.
lot. So some of the water, like the thing is like the first like 12 pages, I did a lot with I mostly drew them with a nib,
Mhm.
and then the last 30 plus pages, I mostly drew them with a brush. But I
Okay.
think the water I almost always did with a nib though.
Okay.
So
It's great. Water is always one of those things for me hard to render properly. Um,
yeah, it's and I mean like I kind of just I mostly just tried to give the impression of it, and
yeah.
I don't know, like I think that a lot of comics um and this is a thing that I feel like a lot of artists we get caught up in is trying to be like perfectly realistic,
Mhm.
um and 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 letting go of that is sort of important to actually finishing something for me. And like
Yeah.
being happy with sort of evoking the idea of something is that was sort of what I think that I wanted um,
Yeah.
out of
Well,
this.
it's got great motion and emotion just in the way you drew the waves, and I love looking at it. That was one of my favorite parts, just artistically, of the book.
Thanks.
Um, Christian has a couple of things. He says, as a writer, I was boggled, sorry, by how he kept cutting out more and more dialogue, but the tiny dialogue works so well. And I didn't get to read this as Christian did, where you had more dialogue and you were chopping it up. But
Yeah,
I think you what well, number one, I think it works great with the amount of dialogue you have. I like that it's really just almost pantomime, like very just picture to picture. Why
mhm.
why did you end up cutting so much dialogue?
I I think that I just didn't think that it needed it.
Mhm.
And let's see. I mean, I added a few lines. I, mm, oh yeah, I mean, it just didn't. Yeah, I think that the lines that I cut, I'm looking at them where they would have been.
Mhm.
I just don't know that they needed to. Yeah, yeah. Christian did beg me to keep one line in, which I did. And my wife had me add a couple lines. She
Yeah.
had me add it. Well, actually, this whole spread here
Hold on, let
was
me
sort of
give you the screen so I can see it. Can you show the
th-
spread?
this spread here
Yeah.
was sort of the transition spread, which I didn't have initially. That was her sort of editorial recommendation,
Hmm.
um, which I think makes the book a lot better because otherwise it cleans up the cut between what was the original short like mini comic that I did and then the rest of the comic,
Yeah.
and it sort of clears up like it just makes I think it makes it flow a lot better, and also like this this page ended up being like one of my favorite images.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think that's
I
on
don't
one of
know
the.
why.
Oh, hold on. Isn't that on one of the pages we
I
were looking at here?
It's on my little like button for
Yeah,
to
for your
click to
button.
order button. Yeah, so I like that one a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that what happened was, and I feel like it was maybe in a Frank Miller interview or something, but
Mhm.
um, the he said, he said something about, and I could be misattributing it. It could be someone else, but something about like, always if you're gonna have words on the page, it should be doing something different than what the images are doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it they should run as like a two different tracks essentially.
Mhm.
And the lines that I did cut, I felt like there were things that just didn't need to be said because I thought that the page communicated it enough. Like it didn't you didn't need to literally read it as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, looking at it, there are more lines that I might cut. I would maybe cut still.
So in your second printing, you're gonna add more pages but take out more text.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very you know, I'm more confident as an artist than I am as a writer or as
Mm.
a like dialogue writer. And
Okay.
so the less words that I have to worry about, the more happier I am with it. So, um, you know, y- I also think that often being like I think I'm a artist first and a like I wouldn't even call myself a writer necessarily, but like
Mhm.
I want to tell it's a comic. I want to tell you something with the pictures. The
Yeah.
pictures the pictures matter, um, and so like you should be able to read the story without needing to read the words.
And
Or like
that's sorry, go ahead.
no, no, like the words should add something to it. But if you need the words in order to read the story, then
Mhm.
the artist side of me failed.
Well, they always say the best artists are those who can tell a story without words. Like the
Yeah,
best comic artists, and you know, you succeed here. I
thank
mean,
you.
You know, the pictures you're showing have words on them. It's almost like, you know, almost every picture here basically has words on them, but the majority of the book is not that way. You
Well,
know,
because that those pages, that preview I constructed specifically to be like, here's
Mm,
5 pages, and with the narration that's on there, you should be able to get a gist of this is what the story is. But
yeah.
like none of it's actually in the book like that, and none of that narration's in the book. It was just sort of like that's one thing that's tough with comics, right? Like your first
Mm,
5 pages aren't necessarily your like they might if you're a prospective reader, the first 5 pages might not necessarily give you anything that's they're not going to give you a great overview of what the book's going to be necessarily. I mean, they might give you something, but they're not necessarily like it's not a great summary or it's not a great like trailer.
mhm.
So I always liked how like um, uh, Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker, they always make those like trailers for their books. With
Yeah.
their like comics trailers, which I feel like is an underutilized like sales tool.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to make something like that without but I didn't want to draw new pages for it, so I just edited
Yeah.
it together. And since everything's built on a grid for the most part, they all slot together. Like everything can slot together pretty well.
Yeah. Let's just go to the comments real quick. Christian says another fellow fugitive, Sammy Ward, released a short on Etsy called "The Deeper You Go In, the King of Woods" with zero dialogue, and it works so well. So, yeah, I mean, it's listen. I grew up reading Mad Magazine with Sergio Aragonés being my all-time favorite artist. His whole stuff is nothing but pantomime. So,
Yeah.
I love when I get to see that because it's also something I don't do very well. So we were talking. I don't remember if it was on air or backstage, but when we were talking about the comics that inspired us and
Hmm.
things, you were mentioning some artists, and you're like, well, I don't draw like him. But the thing is, I don't write gags like Sergio does. So I'm always looking at
Right.
the stuff that I want to aspire to, I guess, at some
Hmm.
point. And I don't know, maybe that's how you feel too. But it's like I like looking at things I can't do or I
Yeah.
don't do well. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I, the artist I was referring to was Ramita Jr.
Yes.
and um, but he is a really great, clear storyteller.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You're never, at least in prime JRJR books, you're never
Mm,
lost in that book. You know, you
yeah.
know, you know what's going on, and but it's also excitingly told. Like he's not again when he's trying, and when he's trying when he's not trying, but like in a good JR book, they're exciting to read usually.
Mm,
Same with and this was the thing that reading a lot of the Paul Pope stuff, especially like his THB stuff,
mm,
but really throughout his whole, you know, his whole like body of work, his line is so exciting. Like
mm,
just looking at his there's life inside of like in the his pages that you know that I think it's just fun for your eye to look at. So trying to
yeah.
kind of always trying to like I'm always trying to obviously get better and see where I can learn things from. But
Yeah. I just had to look up
yeah,
some Paul Pope art on my phone. I'm just like I needed to remember some of his because I know his art, but just sometimes
yeah,
I need to see it. And what you're saying about line, yeah, totally. I'm loving what I'm looking
it's
at here.
it he but so yeah, I mean it like I said, like I'm not I think the most freeing thing you can do if you're making comics is to like not have a goal of doing a comic at Marvel or DC. Like if that's your goal, like that's such a it ends up killing your creativity because um you're always trying to force your work into like a pitch format, I think.
Mhm.
And like I I think that's the biggest mindset change that I had to be like, okay, like I don't know, I'm just gonna make stuff for me. And if other people read it, great.
But I
But
think that's the attitude to have. I mean, even if you go back, even outside of comics, I do a lot of work with animation, and I'm a big
Mhm.
cartoon fan, and I look at the Looney Tunes. They weren't making the Looney Tunes for an audience. They were
Right.
making themselves laugh, and that's when you saw the fun in the
Yeah.
comics and in the cartoons. And when you see somebody, like, especially how the work changes in like the 60s, 70s, even 80s, where they were trying to hit an audience, or now it's for
Yeah.
kids, or they have to do, and one of the things that the reason those cartoons work so well in the old days, and you're looking at things like Mighty Mouse and all those,
Mhm.
they were made by people who were basically cartoonists. They knew how to tell a joke. They weren't just writers. They were people who were funny, knew how to write funny, knew how to tell a joke, knew how to tell it visually.
Yeah.
Not going to somebody who's just a writer and saying, "Write me a kids cartoon that's for 22 minutes," or
Right.
something, and someone else is writing and they don't really understand the humor or the characters or something, and
Yeah, and that division of labor is hard to, like, I think it's hard to work with, especially if there's so I did a one shot comic last year with Doug Wood wrote it, and it was initially published by Action Labs, and without going through
uh,
down the wormhole that is Action Labs, we got the rights back, and so we're going to kickstart it for print. But
yeah. Cool. And you told me about that's going to be in about a month. You're
yeah,
going
I
to
think we're going to launch it next month, so
awesome.
keep an eye out for that.
And
But
I'm just going to say this. I'd love to have
yeah,
both of you on already
oh
saying
great.
that to talk about it.
And so, but so the thing that worked well with that is, like, Doug and I talked before I started drawing it, and I said, Doug,
Mm.
like, you know, you if you want to, if your script has panel description, panel like panel counts or whatever in it, that's fine. Just like, I will ignore them. Like, I'm gonna do what works for me, because I have to make it work in a way that I can draw it. Like, it has to make sense in my brain, and like, as long as we're cool with that, like, I'll do it. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's cool. Like, it was a fun concept. There's a million things I'd change about the pages I did now, but um, but um, but I, like, I think that basically being like, Doug, you came up with a good story, you had a good hook, like this works.
Yeah.
Now let me do the drawing part,
Mhm.
and then, like, and that I think that you see a lot of, like, I feel like there's a lot of, it's I think that it's like, if you make comics, like, there needs to be that equal, like, trust on that, where it's like, okay, like, you know I gotta trust you to, like, I gotta trust Doug to know that he's writing a good story, and I gotta trust me to, like, he's gotta trust me to know, oh yeah, I'm back Doug's Savage Wizard.
Yeah.
It's running up on the end. Um, but, like, he's got to trust me to know that I'm gonna do my best with the art, and, like,
Yeah.
th- you know, I don't know. I just but I mean, I'll be honest. I like working with just myself with comics too. Like, I
Yeah.
do video production for work, and that's a lot of collaborating with, like, you can't make, like, we do documentaries. You can't do that. One person can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you could theoretically, but it'd be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to, um, you ultimately are sort of, you have to work with other people, and, like, the thing that's
Yeah.
nice about comics as a creative medium is, if you don't want to, you can just put your entire vision out there with no one else, and it's yours, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
No, I completely agree. I'm when it comes to comics, yeah, I've had friends write for me, or I've worked on stuff that other people have written, but for me, it's nothing better than when it's just me and my pad and
Hmm.
my mind. And I kind of like the what you were saying though about, if you have a writer and the writer writes the story, you trust him to write, let them
Hmm.
trust you to draw, do what your skill set is as the best. It kind
Yeah.
of reminds me of the old Marvel method in the way where like Kirby would kind of,
Right.
loosely plot out a story, draw the pages, and did it in 8, 10, whatever it was, and then throw it over to Stan, and Stan would fill in the dialogue. I
Yeah.
it kind of sounds like that for a collaboration would work well for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of, and even, like, the way that I write the books that I've
Mhm.
done for myself, I write, like, a my plots are a bullet point list
Mhm.
of, like, this happens, this happens, this happens, like, and those bullet points turn into pages.
Yep.
But, like, there's nothing beyond, like, this book was, like, the bullet points are, basically he arrives at the shore, like, he then goes into the carousel. He runs into a ghost in the carousel. He then exits carousel, drowns. Done. Those are the bullet points, and
You
then
know,
that
it's
turns into 12 pages.
it's funny you say, because it sounds like you and I had the same teacher to teach it, because I do everything through bullet points. I make
Yeah.
this is I bullet point, like, or I'll write, the way I do it is I write a paragraph. This is
Hmm.
what's happening on the page, and I kind of say this is the page, this is what needs to happen, and then I bullet point all the stuff that kind of has to happen on that page.
Yeah.
So those become my panels on the
Yeah. Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
so. I do the same. Like, I start with writing, like, this is what I want the story to, like, do. Like, this is the
yeah,
idea, and then, yeah, and then I go into the bullet points, and that turns into the page. And
yeah.
the mine are very. I mean, I go the next story that I'm working on. I've got a little bit more detail because there's some more beats in it
Mhm.
than this story had. Um, but it's the same. It's the same overall principle. And, like the page count doesn't. If it's for you, like, you don't have to hit a page count. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna print it, you need it to be divisible by 4. But other than that,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Um, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. I want to show your. While you were talking, and I'm listening to you. Obviously, I wanted
Uh-huh.
to. I was looking at your website, and I'd like to
Yeah.
share
Did
a
you
little
check
bit.
out Crimson?
I haven't read anything because I didn't want to
Put Crimson up.
ignore.
We'll talk Crimson.
All right, I didn't want to ignore anything you were saying, so I haven't read. I
Hmm.
just kind of looked at things visually,
Okay.
and what's nice. And I went back to the main page here, but what's nice is
Yep.
if you go to comics, there is a few short comics on there.
Oh,
Goes to the
yeah.
carousel, what you saw.
Well,
This
if
is
you
Crimson.
click on comics, because I can kind of
Okay.
show, like, I the over the past year I did a bunch of, like, one. This is the first few pages are a, and I know I was railing against pitches, but it's a pitch that I did that
Yeah.
Yoni Hog wrote, and so that's hopefully going to come from Dauntless next year sometime.
Okay. I think it
Um,
looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
did all the art and colored it, and Haas lettered it. But I did a few last year, like, one page comics. That
Mm.
delivery page is the page from the book that I'm going to do next, I think.
Okay.
And so that's sort of the next thing.
It's
Um,
funny because I look at everything, and obviously your style's a little different in the Ghosts comic. This is a little bit
mhm.
more clean and refined, as opposed
Yeah.
to the other one. You could tell, like, when you drew it there, you know, and I don't want this to come out wrong because I'm not knocking this, but
Yeah.
there was definitely, like, more emotion and
Hmm.
speed and quickness. Like, you were just the feel was completely different. You wanted people to feel that speed and that quick line to get the anger or whatever emotion you were trying to capture. Here,
Hmm.
this has that more clean, you know,
Professional type of
pro
drive.
style going on here.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally accurate. Like,
Yeah.
that's absolutely what I was going for in Ghosts. Like, I wanted
Mhm.
people to feel something, um and whereas other things, if and these are sort of, I've done some, like, one pagers that were
Mhm.
trying to come up with an idea of what I thought about the past year. Those are done in 2020. And then
Okay.
this 4 page, or I think it's 5 pages,
Right here,
this
one,
with a
two.
black and white down.
Okay.
Um, that was done for the um, shoot. It was like a short comics contest that I can't remember the name of the people who held it, but they
Good.
gave you a prompt, and of course the prompt was like the prompt was the prompt was like World War II fiction, and the line that you had to work in was like, "Can't you see it's a pandemic?" And I went to a very dark place, obviously, with it, but I don't know how
Mhm.
with that prompt and that line, I don't know where the hell else I was supposed to
Yeah.
go.
Now, out of
Platform, thank you,
curiosity,
Kristen.
do you normally go dark in your stories, or?
I mean, usually, but I'm trying not to, but I mean that 5 pager I was like mid 2020, and it was a platform comics contest.
Yeah.
I'm pleased with that short. Like
Yeah.
it did exactly what I intended it to do, I think. But yeah, I do tend to go dark. I'm trying to get better at making some hopeful things, but
It's not a problem. The
mm,
dark comics are good too. I mean,
you got to work with what you're given, I
what you know,
guess sometimes.
it's funny, because I tend to live kind of dark in my head, but I do a lot of
Mhm.
humor, kid friendly. Like that's just the type of stuff I tend to lean towards. Um,
Yeah,
I think that helps me deal with the darkness that goes on in my head. But yeah, no, I love reading stuff like this.
yeah.
I
I
totally
mean,
love reading stuff like this. It's
I
so
it's how I guess how I get it out of my head, and
yeah.
so like I mean I'm not really I'm not a particularly dark person like in life,
Oh,
but
okay.
like I get it out in the comics.
Yeah.
And then these are some pages from Leap M down here.
Mhm. And this is the
So
one you got the rights back with
yeah,
Doug
we're
and
kickstarting it.
awesome. Awesome. This is great stuff here. I've loved everything I've scrolled through. Like I said, I
Yeah,
didn't read anything because I didn't want to ignore you.
but
Um,
you
but this page will stay up on my, tomorrow when I'm in my studio
sweet.
working. This will
Yeah,
be something I take my
and
break on.
you can see that there are a few like, and then if you
Mhm.
click on Crimson, we can look at that. But
Yeah.
there are a few like stop and start comics. Like there's two
Mhm.
first pages for that delivery story in that on that page. But and this is Crimson, which is like Crimson Beard is the name of the character, and I kind of will make up stories for him every now and then.
Which
This
is
is the
this
most
guy
recent
here.
one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy with the red beard.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know. I must have screwed. I don't know. Usually, like that's a 2 page spread there. I don't know why it's all split up,
Oh,
but
this one here
whatever.
between these
Yeah,
two. Yeah.
but so I did this. I guess I did this in 2019. Um, and so yeah, it's sort of an action comic, and um, when I eventually finish the story, I'll probably have end up having to redraw all of this at some point. But you know,
Three draws. Wow.
it's
I
probably
I think it's
like
great the way it is.
thank you. I just well because like I have a problem in my head with continuity. So if I were to draw the second issue, it's not gonna look like the first issue, and
I
I don't
know.
know what I would do.
I know. I've done
It,
the same
it
thing.
it'd break my brain, but I need to fix this page. I didn't realize these spreads were all broken. But
Mm.
I mean, yeah. So this is my sort of dystopian action comic, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so it's something that I'll revisit, but it's such like the story that I have mapped out is so much longer than something than what I want to kind of commit to doing right now. And that's
Yeah.
the other problem is it's like it's not a story that I think I want to tell in like 50 pages. It's something that I
Yeah.
think I want to tell in like maybe 150 pages, and I don't
Okay.
know that I want to do 150 pages of one thing yet right now. So,
Yeah. No, I know that feeling. This
you
is
know,
great though. Everything about
thanks.
this. I mean, I can't wait to sit down and read through
I,
these.
I might have to kickstart like a print. Like if I, this is the other thing. Like I need to get over my fear of Kickstarter, but like I kind of would like to just kickstart a print edition at Crimson, and then
Mhm.
if I could get it funded and could print it, and then like justify in my brain doing the next issue, like that would probably be the best way for me to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's
but
good.
like I have it mapped out as like four. It's like a 4-issue arc. Um, so
Well,
yeah,
that's great. I mean, well, number one, you got two good guys to talk to about Kickstarter. Got their
yeah,
was it
they crushed it
yeah, and was it less than 48 hours, less than 24 hours, whatever it was, they
immediately.
yeah, they funded their stuff. So you got two good guys there to chat with about that.
And I have another book up there that is, see, this is what I'm getting at though.
Yeah.
Like I have 15 unfinished like stories
And that's
that
the Unspeakable
like
comic.
yeah. So this is yeah, this is like the question beats up the deep state.
Okay.
um, that's the high concept. So yeah, I mean, I was reading again. This is so I this one started life as like I wanted to mess with doing like an Instagram comic strip, and
Yeah.
so each of these pages is constructed of like a 4-panel strip on Instagram. So so yeah, but I've got I want to finish this. So I would like to do. I will eventually do more of this. I have like 4 strips sitting at home that need to get
Mhm.
scanned in and posted. But basically, he beats up some like congressman slash senator who's like a warmonger, and then you know he's gonna there's gonna be action will happen and ensue and whatever.
Mhm. So is this something that you didn't post this on Instagram, did you?
No,
Or
I have an Instagram account for the comic.
oh, really? I'll have to check it
Yeah.
out. I'd love to see how you did because I do read Instagram. I even ran one a couple of years ago. Was it like a more traditional comic strip one called The Wiz?
Okay.
And it was more traditional, like humor strip, like think like Garfield type of
Uh huh.
type of things there. And so I was able to do 3-4 panels and just make them fit nicely as you swipe on Instagram. I'd love to see how something like this appeared.
So I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun to play with, actually,
Mhm.
honestly, because especially with the swiping, because like on some of them, especially some of the action beats, it makes it a lot cooler, I think.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the double panels, like those would be reveal on swipe sort of type of things. So um yeah, I thought it was actually like it's a fun format to play with. Um
Yeah.
and it's definitely something that I will probably go back to soon. It's just sort of it's always like finding the time
Yeah, I know exactly.
um,
Just,
and
Um,
dedicating yourself to doing it.
that's
But
that's the thing. I just
yeah,
followed.
it's
I'm just letting you know. I just followed you.
you.
The Unspeakable comic.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Um,
So you
I
can guilt
wanted
me
to
into
make
making
sure.
more.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I followed it before I forgot to.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
yeah, no, this is cool stuff here. Um,
Yeah. So that's. I'll scan the ones in that I have done, and then I'll
yeah,
post. I'll start posting some new ones. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's something that I guess you know. There's so many different things that you can do with comics right now that it's like
mm,
I want to just try everything, but I need to like actually commit to finishing some of these
yeah,
stories. So
yeah. Have you thought of Webtoon at all?
I was posting this on Webtoon as well.
Okay.
Um, so like I had it, I have all the mechanisms to for it to go. Webtoon's a tough one because Webtoon to format it for Webtoons, it is opposite of formatting for literally anything else.
Yeah.
Like because Instagram, you're swiping, you're going horizontally, like a page, like a normal comics page. It's usually a horizontal kind of layout,
Mhm.
where you're going in tiers. And webtoons, it's all the action has to be going from top to bottom,
Excuse me. Yeah.
which it just doesn't.
It didn't used to be that way.
I don't,
And
I don't, I don't like it. I
yeah.
mean, like, or I the problem that I have with it is I think to format something satisfyingly for webtoons, it 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 makes it so it doesn't really work in any other format.
Yeah.
Or like and that's the thing that I have a hard time wrapping around my head around. But and so I kind of, there's some wonky things with the webtoons version of it, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I'll do more Unspeakable.
Yeah,
I mean, it's I was reading a lot of like the Ditko Mr. A stuff,
mhm,
and the Ditko like question stuff, and that the Dennis Cowan question series that came out like Black Label recently.
mhm.
So I love the idea of like the like um, you know, like hero without a face type of thing, because you don't have to. Um, it's not a character; it's an avatar. Like he's not like it's you know like, especially with the Unspeakable comic, it's like I don't like the main character doesn't need, like, I don't need him to have any development. He's sort
Yeah,
of supposed to be just sort of like this avenging like thing.
yeah.
Like it doesn't like I don't know. Did you see the new Bond movie?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, I won't say anything then.
No, it's okay.
But
I'll be honest. I'm not a huge Bond fan, but I
okay,
watch them. So, if you want to
it's
spoil it
this
for the
interesting
audience, go
thing.
for it.
I won't spoil anything, but like the Daniel Craig Bond versus any previous Bond, like
Mhm.
Bond previously is not really a character.
Yeah.
Like he is, like he has character traits. He is a specific character, but Bond at the beginning, at the end of the movie is the same James Bond.
Yeah.
Whereas Daniel Craig's, they made him like, oh, this is a character that we need to develop, and we need to give him like, we need to make him fuller, and like that works for certain things, but then like, I'm of mixed minds on whether or not I like that for like a character like a James Bond, and it's
Hmm.
true of almost all superheroes too, where there's there at least my feeling with a lot of them is that they're sort of avatars for something.
Mhm.
Like I think I end up gravitating towards, in sort of my like action fiction, like a character like the Punisher. The Punisher doesn't change. Like
Mhm.
he's just like he is essentially a slasher. Like he should like he's gonna kill a bad guy, and the fun of a Punisher story is like the Punisher's like either you know the bad guy's interesting, or the bad guy's particularly bad, and you want to see the bad guy get killed by the Punisher. And that's really it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, and so that's sort of what I wanted to play with the Unspeakable thing. Crimson is a character though, like he will have development in that book, and he has there, you know, there's other characters there, but like Ghost of the Carousel, like I don't like there's development, but like you're not. This isn't. Um, this should hit you more emotionally, and not like you don't need to wonder what's this guy's backstory. Like you don't need to know his job.
Yeah.
I had a, um, I had a friend email asking me like, "Hey, well, so what are you gonna like if you turn this into like a movie or like a full graphic novel? Like, what would you do with it?" And it's like, no, no, this is it. Like, this is the story. There's there's nothing else. Like, it's
Yeah.
done. Like, he's like, yeah, you could maybe have him be a musician or something. Like, no, no, it's just this is the book. It's there's I whether what he does for a living is irrelevant, because
Yeah.
that's not what I want you to get out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't. That was a tangent.
No, it's okay. Listen, it really shows the kind of stories you're telling. You want to tell what you like and what your readers could expect from your work. So it was a perfect piece right there. But we are coming up to closing time for the show.
All right.
Is there anything you want to discuss we haven't talked about yet?
No, I think we covered everything that I've got. Um,
Okay.
Definitely, if
Uh,
people want more of any of my work, follow the Unspeakable comic account, because
mm,
maybe if I get more followers, I'll do more comics. Uh,
mm.
and maybe I'll kickstart a Crimson printing. Who
That
knows?
sounds great. And next, you said around sometime next month, you and Doug are going to be running the Kickstarter.
For Leap M, yeah,
Yeah,
I
for Leap
believe that'll
M.
be next month.
All right, and I'll reach out to you guys and get you to come on and discuss it.
Sweet, thank
Yeah,
you.
that sounds
Appreciate
great.
that.
Um, so I'm sorry, I'm still looking at your work down here on my other monitor.
Yeah, well, shoot me an email. Let me know
Yes.
what you think.
Yes. So Christian's saying follow Matt, which was what I was just about to say. Instagram and Twitter. I have to follow you on
Yep.
Instagram. I don't follow you on. I follow you on Twitter already. But Instagram and Twitter. Matt
Yep.
J Bat. His website Matt J Bat,
Keep
where
it
you can
easy.
actually go and order the comics. Christian says, Michael, you rock. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna drop you backstage if you can hold out just for a
Sweet.
moment backstage. Awesome. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate
Thanks. Thank
talking
you for
with you.
having me. This was
Oh,
fun.
anytime. Great chatting. And just I always say this, and I know I don't want it to sound cheesy because I do say it a lot, but thank you for being a creator. Thank you for creating stuff that, and that you're putting stuff out for other audiences. It's not always mainstream stuff, but hey, it's great, and there's always an audience for it. And I'm glad that you're putting out the work you do because it just looks beautiful. Ghost was such a you could tell a personal project for you, and I did connect with it when I read it. So you definitely got what was it did what you wanted it to do.
Thank you.
All right, you're very welcome. I'm going to drop you backstage, and I'll talk to you in a moment.
All right.
All right. All right. Oh, another comment. Christian says this was an excellent Italian pairing. So thank you for everyone who tuned in. Next week I'll be back. Let me see if I can grab my guest. I already have a confirmation. I know I told you guys I don't like saying things until I have a confirmation. But next week I am coming back with Daphne Lage. Daphne Lage is a fantastic illustrator, artist. She's got a Kickstarter up that's going to end, I think, either that night or the day before. Just quickly show you her stuff right here. This is one of her books from one of the Kickstarters she did. I think it's for the next part of this, but we'll find out. Anyway, I want to thank Matt for coming on. I really did have a lot of fun chatting with him. He's got gorgeous work. Check out his website, mattjbat.com. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter at mattjbat. I'm going to expect we're going to be seeing a lot of great stuff coming out from him. So definitely keep watching what he's doing, and go buy his book on his website. So I'll see you guys next week. Have a great week. Oh, on this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, Don Chin. I'll be look for the ads for that. Because I worked on X-Farce and for him, the X-Farce Reloaded book. He's doing a thing with all the artists and writers from X-Farce, and we're going to be talking and maybe doing, I don't know if we're doing live drawing, maybe selling some work. So that'll be on this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on Don Chin's YouTube channel. Just check that out, but I will have some ads and I'll be advertising that. So again, guys, have a great night. I'll see you guys next week. I'll talk to you then. All right. Bye, guys.